Starting your own watch brand. Anyone want to try? It's very simple. All you've got to do is click a few buttons on a computer, order a watch for $1 from China, put it on Kickstarter for $200, and then just sit back and watch the money roll in. It's as simple as that. Well, that's what most people think, but it's not as simple as that. For the past few years, I've been getting emails almost every single day from people who want to start their own watch brand. The majority of these people are not really going to start a watch brand. They just want to find out what the prices are, what it's going to cost. They're just dreaming about starting their own watch brand, and they always say, well, how much is this watch going to cost me? And I always say, well, it depends on the type of watch you want to make. It's not a case of one size fits all. Do you want to make a diver's watch? Do you want to make a dress watch? Do you want a chronograph movement? Do you want a three-hand movement? What kind of case do you want? What kind of crystal? The choice is endless. So it all depends on what you want to do. Do you want a stainless steel bracelet? Do you want a leather? Do you want a crocodile strap? It all makes a difference. So you can't sort of say, well, how much is a watch going to cost me? It all depends on the type of watch you want to make. I got an email from this guy, and he sent me his watch. Now this is his watch. Now I've covered the name, his branding on there because it's his name, and I don't particularly want to be putting his name out there. He went online, found a factory, well, a factory, and back and forth, so on, and he liked the watch. They sent him a catalogue by PDF, and he picked this watch. Now the watch is actually quite nice. It's quite a decent watch. It's basically a Young Hands rip-off. It's all right. I mean, but for the price he paid, he actually got overcharged for the watch itself. He didn't do proper research. He didn't really know what the actual costing of this watch would be. Now, the thing with factories in China is a lot of them will have the same watch. Okay, the problem with these so-called factories is that they'll have the same watch. They'll tend to keep the same price at the different factories. Now, when I say so-called factories, a lot of these places that you'll find online are not actual factories. They're trading companies. So it's basically somebody sat in an office. They'll have a website saying we're factories, we can make whatever watches you want to do, and they'll give prices out, and then they'll obviously add their own commission on top. So then they'll go to the factories, what watches do you have off the shelf, and then we'll advertise it for you. You're not going to really find proper factories advertising online. Majority of these factories that you find, like I said, it could be somebody just sat in an office, or it could be somebody sat in a coffee shop, sat there on his laptop, or she could be sat there on a laptop. Now, the majority of people who you will deal with will be female because they can flirt a lot better. They'll give you a watch, they'll give you a price, and they'll basically be around about the same price because they all know roughly. The chances are they'll be buying it from the same factory, the same watch. You buy this from one factory online, and you find another one, you'll find the same watch, slightly different pictures, but basically the same watch, around about the same price. But if you go directly to the factory, you'll get the watch up maybe 20, 30%, even 50% cheaper than you will online. So that's something to be aware of. Anybody who wants to start a business in China, you must go to China. You must find out that is this factory or this person you're talking to actual legitimate factory. If you go to China and they say, yeah, we can't show you our factory because we've got other companies that we're working with, and we can't show you because we've got non-disclosures and all this, walk away. That means they're not going to show you the factory. They're not going to be a legitimate factory because they can't show you the factory because they're not a factory. Just don't go there. So if you are going to do it, make sure you make appointments. Say, right, I'm coming to China. I want to see the factory. Now the other thing is they'll say, yeah, no problem, don't worry. Come when you come to China, we'll pick you up from the hotel. We'll do this, we'll do that. And then when you actually get there, they'll say, oh, unfortunately, we can't take you to the factory, and they'll make excuses. Anyway, this guy, he didn't go to China. He did everything online. He found this company, I'm just going to call it a company, online. He liked the watch, he liked the website. I'm not going to show you the website or anything else like that. They'll steal pictures, or they'll even take pictures from other websites, or they'll go to factories, take pictures from the factories and then put them on their website. So just be very, very careful about ordering stuff online. Fairly well made, it's all right, but when you do make a watch, Now the watch has got a Chinese movement. When you're ordering a watch, you may specify a certain movement. Let's say an ETA movement or a Japanese NH35 or something else like that. The sample they'll make for you will be that movement. But when it comes to production, they may not use that movement. They may use a clone movement. And then they'll ship it out to you. You may not know. If you do know, you've then got to prove that the product that they've supplied to you is not the correct product. So you've got to say, all right, this is not a Japanese movement. Then you've got to put your proof forward that it's not, and then you've got to go through all the rigmarole about that. So don't do it. That's all I can say is don't do it. So ordered his watch. He got his sample. Now he overpaid for the sample. They charged him for a molding cost. So basically, when they make a watch case, they need to make a new mold for the case. So they charged him a molding cost. The watch they already had already, so they didn't need to make a mold. He didn't adjust anything. So this one is a 40 mil. So if he wanted to make it, let's say 41 mil or 39 mil. And they didn't have that, then they would have to make a new mold. Fair enough, they'd have to charge you for a new molding cost. But he basically bought the watch off the shelf, same movement, same dial, same hands. And all they've done is they've just put his name on the dial, job done, and that was it. So they overcharged him for making his sample, and then they overcharged him per watch, if that makes sense. So every watch will cost him around about 40% more than what it would have cost him if he'd gone directly to the factory. So he got overcharged for the cost of the watch itself, but he didn't realize that because he checked other websites and they all had round about the same price. So when he told me what the cost, I said, well, no, that's not the actual cost of this watch. This watch would have cost you X amount if you'd gone to the factory itself. He made the order, and he gave them the deposit. Now, normally most factories will, it depends on per factory, but you're looking at 35% deposit. Some may ask for more depending on the type of watch it is and the amount it is. So as I said before, if it's a cheaper watch, they may ask for maybe a 50% deposit, but the standard is 30%. You're not going to get anything less than 30%. Paid his deposit, and they said, okay, 90 days from deposit payment to final production finishing. He waited and waited. The 90 days came and went, and then he got back to him, what's going on and so on. And he was like, okay, yeah, we're just having some issues and we're having issues with the movement company. They haven't supplied us with the movement, so it's going to take a bit longer. All very plausible. They came up with some plausible excuses. So he waited, and it went on and on and on and on, and 6 months came and it went on further. I think it finally clicked. He sort of said, okay, look, I've had enough. You're obviously not going to make the watch, so just give me a refund and we'll just call it quits. And then they turned around and said to him, yeah, we're not going to give you a refund. If you want us to make the final watch, we can do, but we want another 20% on top. So basically, you'll be paying half the cost of the final production. If you cancel the order, you're going to get nothing. If you want us to complete the final production, you're going to have to pay the extra money, and then we'll finish the thing. And we're just waiting for the movements, and then you're just basically weeks away from making your watch. So he's like, okay, what do I do? Do I pour more money into it, fingers crossed that the watch will turn up, or do I just cut my losses? And that's when he reached out to me. So when he told me what happened, and then he gave me the details of the factory and stuff, and then I checked him out, and I was like, yeah, they're not a factory. They're basically a trading company. The company is just basically an address. He said, what do I do now? I said, cut your losses. That money that you've paid, write it off. You're not going to get that money back. The factories basically said, well, we've incurred cost of making the case and all this and that, so the watch is basically ready. Would they have completed the final? I have my doubts. I think they would have taken the extra money and then dragged it on a bit longer and longer, and they could have turned around and said, all right, we need another 25%. Or we need another 50% or we need the total cost of the production, or we're not going to do anything. He's now sort of, okay, what do I do? And he's come to the point where, okay, he's just going to write off the money and that's it. Now, well, with the cost of making the prototype and all the other things on top, and he didn't make just one, he made quite a few different colored dials and so on. He's into it for well over $1,000 that he's poured into this, and that money's just basically gone. Let that be a warning to anyone who wants to start a watch brand. Go to China. If you're going to be serious, make sure you find a legitimate company in China that will produce the watch for you. Have a look at what other watches they've produced. That's another thing you've got to look out for, is they will show you watches that they've produced, but they actually haven't produced those watches. What they do is they'll buy watches from other companies and then just say, oh yeah, we made this watch. Don't believe them. Unless you actually see that watch being made in the factory, don't believe them. They'll come out with a tray of watches and say, okay, we made watches for this company, we made watches for this company. You just got to be very, very careful. It's not a simple case of clicking a few buttons on a computer and then just ordering it. I mean, if you're going to order, there are companies out there where you can buy really, really cheap watches. Somebody emailed me again. I don't think I've got his email, but I found it very funny. He ordered these watch samples for $5. And then when he got the watches, he bitched and complained. He said, these are really cheap, horrible, nasty watches. Yeah, you paid $5 for them. What did you expect? You get what you pay for. If you're not going to go to China, find an agent in China, a reputable agent in China. But then that's the other issue, is how do you find a reputable agent in China? Going to find them online, and how do you know they are not going to do the same thing? So it is very difficult. My best advice is you need to get yourself to China, do your proper research, make sure you've got enough funding. A trip to China, you're looking at between $1,000 to $2,000 per trip. Your first thing you need to do is go and find your factory, do a tour of the factory, and don't just look at one, look at 3, 4, 5, as many as you can. Spend a few weeks out there and make appointments to see as many as you possibly can. What he's going to do now, I don't know. I think this kind of killed his dream of becoming a watch company. I'll see what he says, if he's going to continue with it.